Eric Sheetsaber. We're going to be talking through the Pebble Beach Pro-Am and the No Cut event. We have some really big golf stuff coming up in the not too distant future. So I'm getting back into it slowly, but haven't quite gotten the right mix yet. But working on it. And Sheets, any overall thoughts other than the no? I mean, we know it's a no cut. Any overall thoughts you want to talk about before we?
Yeah, I guess I want to start by getting into it because it's very, very odd. I guess I'll just get right into it. Is that usually with the no cut events, what ends up happening is that it becomes a very stars and scrubs build, and the reason for that is quite simply because you don't have to worry about the scrubs being missing the cut, right? You're getting four rounds at everybody, So that's usually the way these things work. And then what ends up happening is that I spend the majority of the time figuring out how to make middling builds to get different, because everything usually forces you to that. This time, I don't know why or what, but I'm just not getting that at all. Like maybe it's just because of the projections or the salaries or whatever. My initial builds, and we'll get there, is pretty middling actually, which is very, very odd for a no cut event. Which then is going to beg the question: maybe we're supposed to go stars and scrubs. So we'll get into it. Listen, it's Pebble Beach. So what happens is, from a course perspective, is that the way everything kind of slopes, like it doesn't matter how far you hit it, sort of, they all kind of collect at the same place usually. So it becomes kind of like a nice iron player second shot hole usually. But so it's Pebble Beach, tough course. Everybody, everybody here has played it before, I imagine, most people at least. And 80 good golfers, and let's go. Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did notice that there's a lot of guys in that middling 8K range that project really well. So maybe that has something to do with it. But
we'll get there.
Let's jump into it. All right, so we've got we'll grab your screen first.
Did I share my screen yet? Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. Yeah. So what we're going to do, for those of you that are here for the first time, we're going to go through tier by tier, give our best kind of plays, talk about a little ownership, whatever, and then we will go through at the end and review it, trying to have a little contest, seeing if we can figure out who's going to win the tournament. Best guy from each range to get either top 5, top 10, top 20. Maybe we can't have anybody miss the cut this time. That'll do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's, speaking of that top range, that 10K to 11.5, I guess I'll jump in on this one, because most of the other times I might ask you to go first because you might have more plays than I do. I am just going to stick on this. Look, as long as Scheffler's not more expensive, I understand that whatever, he would be my number one target of these guys. Obviously, there's a big price gap between he and Hovland and Schauffele. I would have it, for me, ranked Scheffler, Hovland, Schauffele, Rory, just because I wouldn't get to as much Rory, because I think Scheffler is the better play. That's the way I've got it ranked. There's none of them that I would cross off personally.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to run these again. When I'm ranking them, I have Scheffler better than McIlroy, and then Xander, and then Hovland or whatever. But then when I actually build the lineups, I'm getting just almost zero of either McIlroy or Scheffler. I'm getting quite literally 12%, something like that. 12% of Scheffler and pretty much the same of McIlroy. So I don't know.
Is there a chance that Rory ends up way lower owned than the projections have?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's if I'm getting this, then I think a lot of people are going to get to this. I have Rory at 16% projected ownership.
Yeah,
I don't think he can get lower than that, only because he's still Rory. You know what I mean?
But it's just, everybody's going to have to decide between he and Scheffler, and how many people are going to really decide him versus Scheffler.
I think people will.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, he's projected better. It's a little wild to me. We've been talking about this for about 3 years now. how do you just have guys project better than Scheffler and Rahm?
Ever.
And those guys win everything.
Yeah.
And now we don't have Rahm anymore, but
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. Next up, the 9K range. What sticks out to you here? Because this is another one that's, I think there's going to be a lot of popular double 9K builds.
Yeah. So this is where my highest owned guy is coming from. So it's kind of close, but I'm currently getting the most of Homa of pretty much anybody in the whole field. And I'm happy about that. And then the next guy I'm getting the most of would be actually Morikawa. So again, you see kind of a familiar theme here. You know what I mean? Like just the lowest amount of money you can pay, like the better. So that's where I'm kind of getting. So I'm getting, again, to reiterate from the 10Ks, like I'm getting more Hovland. I'm getting a good amount of Hovland and Xander, but like none of the top guys. And at the 9Ks, I'm getting a good amount of Homa and Morikawa, but not so much of the top guys. Like I do have a little bit of Cantlay, but that's about it.
Yep. Yeah. So I have the same thing. I have Homa and Morikawa as my two favorites in this range. I think that the ownership is high enough, and I'm interested. I'm not as interested enough to where I'm okay to just not play the other guys very much. Thomas, Spieth, and Cantlay. If I had to pick one, it'd probably be Spieth. And I'm all about Aberg in general, but I think that I'll probably just let it go this week because I like Morikawa and Homa so much. So that's what I've got for this one.
I mean, just remember, it is only an 80-person field, so we are gonna, like some. It seems like a decent percentage of the guys, right?
Right. Well, that's why I mentioned that I wasn't going to be playing those. I'm trying to keep it more narrow. You know what I mean? I only picked Homa and Morikawa from that range of the guys that actually want to play. But yeah, I hear you. All right, what do you got in the 8K range?
All right, so the guy that I'm coming up with that I'm getting the most of right now is Matt Fitzpatrick. And again, same theme, cheaper the better. Your guy Fleetwood I like, obviously, as well. I guess the guy that I'm fading, I guess that's the best way to talk about these ranges with only 80 guys. I really don't have much of any of the Cam Young. And I have almost zero of the Jason Day. I also have almost zero of the Hideki, who I have no problem playing. I played him last week. But I do have some Tom Kim. So my two favorites are going to be Fitzpatrick and Kim, with Fleetwood just behind.
Okay, I hate to be a broken record here, but we're totally on the same page. Like, I have Kenny Miller saying Scotty has trouble at Pebble Beach. Yeah, we can look back at all this stuff. I still just think there's golfers, he's the best golfer. So, but I actually don't know. But I have to double check his history. I didn't do that yet. I'll probably mention that later today. I have the same ones you mentioned. I have Fitz as my favorite. Fleetwood is my second favorite, which probably means Fleetwood will end up being my favorite. And I like Tom Kim a lot. I also think that Højgaard would be the other one for me. But again, a lot of good names here that are going to get low ownership. And I think that it's going to be that heavy double 9K or a 9K with a 10K. But I think getting like 2 or 3 of these guys in this range is decent, just because you're getting like it's just a different way. You're getting a little bit off the chalk. And while those 3 are my favorites, I certainly would consider Hideki, Cam Young, and Finau, along with Burns, as like that would be my next tier. But I do like all those guys as well. It does seem like we're getting to the point with Finau where we got to price and force like play him, because he's always competitive. He's always in somewhat of contention, and we didn't used to like to play him because he was priced at the same. He was priced up with Rory and these guys. Now he's down in the 8,800. I think that's more reasonable. So he's, I guess, the next one I would like. But I like that range better than I like the other ranges, just because I think there's some more opportunities to get a little different.
And then we go to 7K, where you're getting right now the my two high, under Homo, who's my highest owned overall right now. The next 2 I have is the ultra consistent Eric with a C Cole. He's stepping up with the big boys. Now there's no place to hide. You don't have these
You're going for all the whole 70. I always go just 7,500 and 8K.
Oh, I didn't think there were enough golfers to
Oh, my fault. Well, yeah, it just here. Let me just change my screen so I can.
No,
see.
you could be right. I mean, look, there sure are a decent amount over 7,500. All right, so we'll do that. Because I only do have one guy in the 75 to 7,800 range I'm playing a good amount of, and that would be Russell Henley. Everybody else is just kind of, I mean, I guess they're fine, but listen, you have to, like you said, you have to take stands, you have to be somewhere, and Henley's the guy I have the most of.
I like Henley. I like Bo Hostler a lot. And I like Denny McCarthy. Those are my three favorites from that range. If I had to pick anybody else, it'd be Adam Scott. I think that price is pretty cheap for Adam Scott, so I wouldn't mind doing that. Yeah, I'm keeping it mostly with Henley and Hostler, and then I guess Adam Scott would be my next one.
And then as I bury the lead, Eric with a C. Cole
Eric with a C
would be right now. I have like 50% of him.
Ooh.
And we'll see how that kind of plays out during the course of the next 24 hours. So I'm going to run some more contest sims and stuff like that. I will have you guys know that, I mean, not to say that this means you're going to win or anything like that, or that I'm going to win, but this week it's actually the most robust projection set that I've had. Like there's some sites that I just really just don't include until I get enough sample sizes to rate them properly. And a couple of sites just kind of like made that cut this week. So I have I think I'm like 8 or 10 different sites now that I'm kind of dealing with this week. And which means it's just a lot more likely to be accurate, if you want to know the truth.
Yeah.
So I'm very confident in the ownership projections from this week. So if you do want to run sims, or at least base your exposures on ownership, I think you're getting a pretty accurate group. There was so funny. There was one site, I don't want to say who it was, but there's one site that was kind of like ruining my models a little bit. They had Matt Fitzpatrick at like 42%, like all day yesterday. I'm like, what is going on? Like everybody else had him at like 18, whatever. And it was these or whatever. Everybody had this guy's one group had like 42, and then I kind of went back and they just changed it. But I'm very comfortable with the ownership projections. And yeah. So let's do our thing then.
Well, we have to do this under 7Ks, and I didn't say much.
Eric Cole, okay. What else you got for me?
Oh, and my 7K to 7,500 is I think I have no idea what I have to look at this. I guess there's a course history thing that I'm missing, because I think Wyndham Clark's a better golfer than everybody in most of the guys in the 8K range. It just like sort of doesn't make sense to me why he's 7,400. Maybe I'm biased because I went to the LAPC. What's it called? I mean the
LAPC. That's funny.
Yeah, I've got it right here. The LACC for the U.S. Open, and maybe I was spoiled by that, but. I know it's totally different. I just thought the price stood out. I like the Eric Cole idea. I just think like taking another shot on Pavon and Jaeger after good weeks when no one's going to is just, me. I always am a little bit of a sucker for that type of thing. So wanted to mention those guys' names.
All right, who do you got under 7K?
I have a couple that I actually really like.
I like one guy a lot. So let's see if you get the same guy.
The one I have astronomically my favorite is Maverick McNeely. And he's 6,200, so that's nice. There's a big savings there. I, as always, have interest in the Woos, and I also have Taylor Moore, Adam Svensson. You know me, I'm going to try to get the cheap guy, try to get the low-owned guys where I can. And the one obvious one, Cam Davis at 6,700, and I'm guessing that's who you were going to say.
Yes. Okay. It fits the profile. I'm getting my 4 rounds out of him. It's like,
yeah.
So I don't have to worry about Cam Davis doing Cam Davis stuff, right? You know what I mean? Let him go for his birdies. Let him get his bogeys if he has to try to get his birdies. I'm not worried about missing the cut. That would be my favorite. All right, so let's do this. So let's go back and just answer the following questions. All right, Bobby, who is going to win this tournament?
I have to do a double check on Scheffler's things. I don't think it's going to change my mind. I think that I'm just going to pick Scheffler because that's probably the right thing to do any tournament. But it's not like I wouldn't be surprised if any of the guys just around him did.
All right, I'll go with. I probably shouldn't do the other guy, but I'll save him. I'll wimp out and save him for the next tier. I'm going to go with Xander Schauffele.
That's what I thought you were going to say, but I didn't know who the other guy is. So now I'm curious. So how do you start off this next tier?
Yeah, so under 10K to make top 5 is going to be Max Homa for me.
That's who I would have taken. So since you took him, and I like him as well, I'm going to. The temptation is to say Morikawa, but I actually think that I'm gonna just do my normal thing, and no, I'll save the next. You know what? I will say Morikawa.
Okay. How about under 8K to make top 10?
Under
9K to make top 10.
That I will take Tommy Fleetwood.
Yep.
Just because he always makes
it. By contract, you're forced to.
I have to, but he always makes it.
And I will remind everybody, listen, I'll go back to my favorite play in the range, and I will say Matt Fitzpatrick.
I love Fitzpatrick. That was my first. These guys are both in my first build, so I'm very happy to see that. Actually, almost
under 8K to make top 20.
Do you want to start this one? Because I'm trying to figure this out.
Yeah, I'll go Eric Cole.
Okay, you got Eric Cole. I have such a slew of guys that I'm trying to decide between top 20. All right, I'm gonna say Wyndham Clark, even though I really like Danny McCarthy also.
So since there's no cut, what we're gonna say is, how about this? Top guy under 7K to be in the winning lineup.
Okay, it's Mav McNeely for me.
And I will reiterate Cam Davis.
McNeely and Davis.
We don't, now here I want to do an experiment. So I ran these builds without running the contest sims yet, right? So I ran these already, and these are just 150 lineups, and I made it min uniques 3. And here's I'll show you guys what happened. So if I kept it at min uniques 1, right? I just had like the top 150, whatever. I would have 60% Eric Cole, like you said, or like I said before, and I might keep it that way. But if you went to say min uniques 2, you see you get a little less of him. And this obviously makes sense. You go to min uniques 3, gets even less still, pretty much on the same par as Max Homa. But let's run the contest sim. And I just wanted to test my theory about how much running the sim is going to change results. I don't think it's going to change it by that much, but we're going to see. And again, the only reason why we're delaying here is I didn't want to taint the jury pool. I didn't want to do it in advance and know the answer. That's why I'm kind of doing it live. I also, just so you guys know, I might do a lineup build thing later. I'm not sure. I'm not Xing anybody out. I'm not making any changes or anything like that. Just kind of run these. Yeah, I guess we're just gonna have to wait on this.
Yeah, it's going for his thing. So
there it is. I have it right here. Okay. So
I made one mistake. I just want to say Hostler. I meant to say Hostler over McCarthy.
So here you go. So in the pitch and putt, right, which is the whatever, it didn't change too much. You know, you're getting 56% Eric Cole, 47% Homa, and remember my theory about why that would be, like the sports that have the least amount of actual correlation between players. Right. I think that the sims are less incrementally change. You know, they change things incrementally less. That's my theory, at least. Yeah, so these are the guys I'm going to have. I mean, pretty much something like this. I'm going to rerun projections later, but quite honestly, I mean, when you're dealing with like 10 different projection sites, like if one guy changed it by that much, no one's going to change it by that much more, you know? So this is probably something like what I'm going to have. Get a little more JT Poston than I was originally. That's something to consider. Yeah. But that's pretty much it.
Nice. Well, good luck to everybody this week. I'll post my stuff for golf as well as the other stuff. I'm going to do a little more digging before I finalize my lineups. And yeah, let's get after it this week.